You don't have an intro?
Hmm. No, I like to do low budget. You know,
Keep it real?
I like to keep it real.
Well, I mean, I like the South, so howdy from the South.
It's beautiful.
We're Camp Atlanta style.
So, what do you do right now?
I am a web developer and designer at the University of Alabama.
I'd love to know why you started doing what you're doing. How you got into web development, design, project management, customer relations, and clearly it's at a university, so that's interesting in itself. Is that something you just fell into? Um, were you looking for the first available job? How did that all work out?
So I actually went to school to be a graphic designer
Okay.
and to print design. I got into that in high school when I got on the yearbook staff and got really into like page layout and stuff like that. So, but I always kind of had this side hustle interest in programming. And so I went to school and I got my bachelor's in graphic design and I minored in computer science. And kind of tinkered around with websites and like taught myself HTML and just kind of played around. And so when I got to school, kind of kept going, and would kind of make some websites here and there. And my first job out of college was at a university, a small university in Mississippi, Mississippi University for Women in Columbus, Mississippi. And it was just the first job I could get. And it was like an hour drive. I commuted an hour there every day for a year and a half. And I was the print designer for the entire university.
Okay.
It's a pretty small university. I think like maybe 3,000 students, something like that.
You're still running the show.
But yeah, I was it. And so, but I was still doing like some web stuff on the side. And so I realized that my true passion lied more with the web. And so I decided that I would find a full-time web job.
So, what lessons did you take from your first two jobs that
And
that kind of helped you out or are helping you out in this current role?
You learn a lot about like project management and stuff because you're a one-man team and you're under resourced obviously and you're doing a lot of stuff, so like you're one person just doing probably the job of like 2 to 3 people. And so you have to learn how to do crazy like just managing your time and when to say no to things. It took me a long time to like learn to say no.
Okay. And do you work on a team?
No, well, I work in an office with some other people, but as far as web is concerned, I am a team of one.
Okay. Like most mighty teams.
Like most wonderful mighty teams.
Okay.
And I am the developer, I'm the designer, I'm the project manager, I'm the QA, I do it all. We do have a lot of people on campus that work. Obviously, there's lots of other departments on campus, so there are a lot of web folks on campus, and so I do actually. We have a community on campus, so we try to meet once a month and have professional development and try to talk to each other, and so we call ourselves Web Tide.
Web Tide.
Yes,
What is that?
we are the Crimson Tide, the Alabama Crimson
I love
Tide.
it. Crimson Tide.
So we are Web Tide, and
Nice.
so there's like 90 of us, and we meet the third Thursday of every month, and we talk about web stuff.
Okay. Did you start that?
I did
Okay. Why did you start that?
because I wanted us to talk to each other. Because I was a one-man team who, wanted that collaboration and that communication and that that bringing people together to kind of work on stuff and help each other and stuff like that. I just wanted all that, and that's how I did it.
You've organized in your current university this big undertaking of bringing 90 professionals together to share knowledge and to be each other's support network. And then you decided you did something even crazier, right? So you decided that it wasn't good enough to just organize 90 people. You wanted to then go into the world and you wanted to organize everybody in the world that develops websites for universities and have a broader conversation about that. So tell me about that and what it is and why that got started.
So WP Campus is a community and an initiative to kind of to further web focused on WordPress in higher education. And also kind of just general education. But our main group and our main focus right now is higher ed. It started back in the fall, I think August to be exact, and it started from a tweet. Actually, I got the idea from a tweet from Chris Lemma. Actually, everyone was busy tweeting something about WordCamp US, and the hashtag I think was written out WordCamp US. And when you look at it, it kind of looks like WordCampus. And the light bulb went off. Like, man, wouldn't that be cool if we had WordPress or like a WordCamp focused on higher education? And it just, I ran with it because the idea was just too good. And like, why haven't we thought of this before?
Yeah.
And so I hit the ground running, and I set up, and we got a website set up, and we set up a Slack, and my Brian Krause got over at Post Status, who let me write a guest post to kind of announce it to the world, and the rest is history. It's just been crazy. And so you go and you fill out a form on our site, and you get in our Slack account, and we have these great discussions, and we have lots of big ideas and plans. And now we've got a conference this summer in Sarasota, which we're really excited about, and we've got a podcast started. And what we really want to do is to start sharing more knowledge. And so we're working on surveys so we can gather data about how it's being used. And we want to work on like white papers and blogs and tutorials, and we want to have online webinars all year round, and not just at a conference. We have the technology. Why can't we do that? I do think that there is a little bit of an untapped market in higher education for WordPress. It's obviously being used a lot, and I don't think that people before now had talked about it all that much, at least outside higher education. And so I personally believe that higher education should invest in open source, which is why I like to use WordPress. It just encourages the collaboration and the sharing and the openness that I think that higher education should be all about.
What are the craziest things that you've seen higher ed use WordPress for?
The craziest thing I've seen.
Maybe the most complex, the most complicated, the most interesting, the most off-label things that you've seen WordPress used for in higher ed.
That's a good question. Let me think about that for a second. We'll kind of go with something really good.
Hell, I should be on NPR, I guess.
Something that would be actually great. Okay, so something that I've done that I always kind of think is not that common. That's one time I built an access control request system using WordPress. Basically, all it was a form with a workflow, but I used custom host types and all this stuff to store all this data and basically store request information that people then had to sign in and approve, and then when they did that, the other person got an email that they would have to sign in and approve, and it was really a lot of fun to build. And so that's kind of basically, you have these campuses with tons of buildings, and you have to restrict access because there's research labs and privacy issues, and then office space too. So what you would have to do is you would log in, and I built a single sign-on plugin with our CAS server for authentication into like our portal. And so you could authenticate yourself which would log you into the WordPress. You fill out a form which interacted with all these like registrar feeds to like pull people's information, and then once you filled that out, depending on what room you selected, it would start the workflow and go to a specific person who would then say yes, they would log into WordPress to approve it, then obviously would go to the next and so forth and so forth. And so then when all was said and done, it would just send an email to the person who gave out access. And so it was interesting. It was a lot of fun to build.
So complicated to build, but the whole point is to make it super easy, and really it looks simple on the outside.
Yeah, on the outside it's just a form, and then it's just people logging in and clicking yes.
That's cool. All right, the last question. It's not gonna. I'm sorry to let you down. It's not gonna be crazy. Um, all right. So the last question is a question I ask everybody that I interview, and that is, what is one piece of advice you have? One sentence. It can be semicolon. It can be whatever. One piece of advice you have from your experiences coming up through higher ed, getting started in your field, whatever it is, that one thing that you wish that you could tell everybody, like, this is my piece of advice.
Just make stuff. Like a lot of times, for a long time, I would struggle with just making something because I would get so like racked up with anxiety about like doing it wrong. Like it
Mm,
had to be perfect the first time out. And so I would never make something because I was so worried about it not being perfect. And so like getting over that and just make something because you can always improve it and iterate and fix it. But like just make stuff and just get out there and do things and put yourself out there. I think that can really take you places, get some stuff done.
cool. All right, well, thanks. You know I'm a big fanboy of the stuff you're doing, so I appreciate you taking a second to show your mug on camera and answer some questions.
No problem. It's fun.